money spent. Somebody told me 750 million naira that was paid in prosecution of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I'm talking about
each day he comes
4 senior advocates and a team of lawyers that were used to prosecute Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And I want to say that this particular funny convict and the sentence of Nnamdi Kanu is a blessing in disguise. I was surprised that about 5 serving judges, which I will not mention their names, Federal High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court, serving, have taken this upon themselves. In fact, one even called me this morning. They have written grants of appeal and sent to us. So I continue to ask myself, does it mean that we still have some judges with conscience in this country?
The answer is yes.
Yes, we have.
I can comfortably tell you that I'm not talking about retired judges, those that are serving. Then when you're talking about retired judges that have taken this upon themselves, one called me. They are busy calling me, asking me, please, have people filed appeal? You say no. They say don't file. Don't file. We are interested. Professors, both here in Nigeria and abroad, they have taken it upon themselves. I said, sure. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, people love you like this. Not Igbo, so from Yoruba nation, houses, those with conscience.
Yes.
Before we continue to watch the rest of these explosive revolutions, let's understand the hit points. One of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers, Maxwell Okpara, has come out with allegations so grave they could shake the very foundation of the justice system. Okpara claims that a staggering 750 million is allegedly spent for every single day Mazi Nnamdi Kanu appears in court, supposedly to fund his prosecution and sentencing. But that is not all. In a shocking twist, the senior lawyer insists that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's conviction is actually a blessing in disguise, revealing that as many as 5 currently serving judges spanning the Federal High Court, Court of Appeal, and even the Supreme Court, like those judges are currently serving, have allegedly expressed deep disappointment with Justice Omotosho's ruling. According to Okpara, these judges reportedly took the unprecedented step of urging Kanu's legal team not to write any appeal themselves, claiming they had already prepared a full bunch of it while choosing to remain anonymous, because the lawyer, of course, obviously said he was not going to mention their names. Now, this to me raises a critical question. Should a lawyer of this stature, defending Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, be making such revelations on social media? Is this not information that should remain strictly within the legal process? As the appeal approaches, Nigerians are left stunned, divided, and watching closely, hoping for justice, clarity, and the truth to prevail.
Now, having said that, I want to also tell you that I was at a correctional center yesterday at office of the Controller General of the Correctional Center. That was on a Thursday. I went there to go and see the director, the Controller General. The problem we're having is that if you watch, if you read that particular judgment, in the sentence he said Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should be kept in any protective custodial center within Nigeria. He never mentioned any place. Now, the time we went to the SSS, because we went there, that was the sentence and the conviction and the sentence was done on the 20th. On the 21st, we went to that place. They told us that they have moved Mazi Nnamdi Kanu out. We asked them where. They said that we should go to their headquarters, the SSS headquarters. So when we went to that place, they told us that we should not be coming here, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been transferred to Sokoto. The question Nigerians are asking, including those with conscience here, why Sokoto? You know that this man has interlocutory appeal against your ruling and the judgment, which he filed himself at the Court of Appeal. He also filed some motions at the Supreme Court. The day he went to Supreme Court, people saw how people with conscience left to their work, and they were hailing him, encouraging him that he shall overcome. He is representing himself on record. Now, can federal government move him with the same private jet, with the same presidential jet they used to take him to Sokoto? Can they use the same presidential jet, bring him to Abuja here, so that he can file his appeal? Finally, before I want to advise the president. The president, this office is not a father's inheritance. We have seen the president come and go. They have been there right from Zike, Gowon, and all of them, both military and civilian. Please, whatever thing that you are doing, remember where you are coming from. Because the time Obasanjo was dealing with you, I didn't think that some people like us kept quiet. No, I'm talking about Obasanjo that we said his allocation when he was on the yes. And I don't want to go into that when you run away. But where is Abacha today? The disaster that just left before you. Buhari, who was saying that, yes, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will die. Where is it today? So whatever thing, I don't know who is advising you. We have said it that please, those who are advising you, should also, you should consider their advice. Remember that whatever judgment you are giving today will be read by your great grandchildren.
Don't you remember that whatever you are doing today, you come after, you want to ask Malami. Yes.
Malami is in EFCC calling human rights. Children Kanu is telling Malami, why are you crying? They are doing what you talk about. The legacy left, that's what they are following. So please,
When did you tell me went on BBC? Session was trying to overthrow the government. Now you have overthrown the Naira. The final Naira you are increasing.
Now, let's go into this very analysis. According to Okpara, an estimated 750 million naira is spent and paid daily to ensure the prosecution and continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu whenever he appears in court. And let's do not remember, Showore also made the same allegation, even though his own was 500 million. But then, that is a problem. Why these claims remain allegation, they have sparked widespread concern and renewed debate over the integrity of Nigeria's judicial process. But Okpara further described Kanu's conviction as a blessing in disguise. Let's understand what it means. He argued that it has exposed deep-rooted issues within the system. He revealed that about 5 serving judges drawn from the Federal High Court, like those people are serving Federal High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, as he alleged that these judges has expressed dissatisfaction with Justice Omotosho's handling of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. In a particularly shocking claim, Okpara stated that these judges, whose identities he said would not be disclosed, allegedly discouraged Kanu's legal team from drafting the appeal, claiming instead that the judges themselves had already prepared the appeal out of concern for justice and due process. According to Okpara, these judges openly criticized the ruling issued in Kanu's case. Of course, you must have heard the lawyer, the Maxwell Okpara, citing that he now have the appeal. Then, what has further fueled the public reactions is Maxwell Okpara's insistence that none of these judges are of Igbo origin, stressing that their interest in the case is driven not by ethnicity, but by principles and the rule of law. Moving forward, Okpara also directly criticized President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and urging him to reflect on his own political history. He recalled how Tinubu, while serving as governor of Lagos State under President Olusegun Obasanjo, had federal allocation withheld, yet benefited from strong voices, the human rights voices that defended his rights and democratic principles at the time. Now, do not forget how this same Tinubu single-handedly removed a sitting governor in Rivers State. So it is funny that Nigerian politicians do actually refuse, or should I say they do forget so soon. They don't recall the things. They don't recall things. Now, Okpara challenged the president to remember his past and to understand that judgment delivered today will be read and assessed by future generations. In a related development, Okpara alongside activist Omotosho took a swipe at the former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, who is currently facing EFCC's investigations and multiple allegations of corruption. They describe Malami's current situation as a reminder of how power is transcendent, noting that Malami was instrumental in the decisions that led to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's prolonged ordeal. Their message was clear. Today's hunter can easily become tomorrow's hunted, and those in position of authority must act with conscience, knowing that power does not last forever. It cannot remain in your door forever. As the appeal process approaches, Nigerians and the international community will be watching closely to see how this case unfolds. A case that many believes goes beyond one man and speaks directly to the future of justice, human rights, and national unity in Nigeria. Now, let's look into the judicial and political implications of the Okpara revelations. What to expect as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's appeal approaches. The recent statement credited to Maxwell Okpara, if taken within the context of Nigeria's constitutional framework, raises serious judicial, institutional, and political implications that go far beyond Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as an individual. At the core of this matter is a fundamental question: was due process followed? And if not, can any conviction arising from such a process stand? Now, quoting from the section 36 sub 1 of the 1999 Constitution, it says that in the determination of his civil rights and obligations, including any question or determination by or against any government or authority, a person shall be entitled to a fair hearing within a reasonable time by a court or tribunal established by law and constituted in such manner as to secure its independence and impartiality. Now, this section is non-negotiable. Once breached, the entire proceedings collapses, no matter how strong the allegations against the accused person may be. In Nigerian jurisprudence, the Supreme Court has repeatedly held that once there is a breach of fair hearing, the proceedings are nullity. And this is why even a layman, those that are not lawyers, can see that any sentence arising from a flawed process is legally watery and void. And this same thing is rooted on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case, because obviously a lot of judicial steps have not been taken, or should I say, have been breached. Now, here's the point. One of the strongest pillars of Kanu's appeal is how he was brought before the court. And this is what the Nigerian Constitution says. Section 35, subsection 1 of the Constitution guarantees personal liberty. Kanu was arrested, or should I say kidnapped, outside Nigerian territory, allegedly extraordinary rendered without extradition proceedings. And mind you, Kenyan courts have ruled on this particular matter, and Nnamdi Kanu won. And in fact, some fine was to be paid to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So Kanu was returned without compliance with international law or even Nigerian statutes. The Supreme Court of Nigeria made it clear that courts must not close their eyes to illegality, even when the accused is unpopular. Whether you like it or not, from the definition of what the Nigerian law stands, an illegal arrest taints the entire trial. The courts are not permitted to benefit from state lawlessness. Now, this is one of the most damaging issues in the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, despite substituting court ordering granting of bail and release. Section 287, subsection 3 mandates all authorities and persons shall give effect to the decision of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and all other courts. So when the executive chooses which court orders to obey, the result is constitutional anarchy. The Supreme Court has consistently ruled that a party in contempt of court cannot be heard until the contempt is purged. This alone is enough for an appellate court. Set aside proceedings, strike out charges, or order immediate release. Now, this is why this alleged position of some judges matters. If, as alleged, serving judges privately express dissatisfaction with the rulings in this case by Justice Omotosho, it signals something extremely rare: institutional concern within the judiciary itself. These are people that are serving in Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, the appeal court, and the high court. Legally speaking, the appeal court may set aside the conviction entirely on the grounds of lack of jurisdiction, breach of fair hearing, illegality of arrest and detention. Secondly, strike out the charges rather than ordering a retrial because the prosecution is already tainted. Finally, this case is bigger than Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu's case is no longer about guilt or innocence. It is not about whether Nigeria is governed by laws or by men, whether courts are independent or ornamental, whether power is temporal or absolute. History shows that nations that ignore these warnings pay later, always at higher cost. As the appeal approaches, Nigeria is not just on trial before its courts, it is on trial before history, posterity, and its own constitution. Do not forget, this is about perspectives, your domain for unfiltered news and raw political analysis. We give nothing but raw and how it is. No subtraction, no addiction. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, subscribe, and of course turn on the notification so you would always get notified each time we drop an update. And please don't forget to share, like this video, and of course leave your comments. Let's understand what you think. Your opinion matters to our analysis. Thank you for watching.